Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to York in England once again, and we're going to do my second review from Brew York. So we've got quite an interesting one to try today. This is the Viking DNA, which comes in at 5.1%, and it's a smoked porter, and from what I gather they use German Rauch malt in this one. So I'm really looking forward to this. If you've watched the channel before, you will know that I really love these German Rauch beers, so looking forward to trying this, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. Thank you as well to my sister's boyfriend Mike for bringing this beer for me to try. He brought me 3 different cans of Brew York beer, so you will see those coming over the next little while, so thank you to Mike for that. So anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Brew York before. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there, of course, for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you before. That's constantly being added to, and please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brew York then. So Brew York was founded back in 2015 by Lee Graham and Wayne Smith, and it's actually one of only 2 breweries within the bar walls in York. But the guys were home brewers and apparently inspired by the likes of Northern Monk, Untappd Leeds, and also Little Creatures as well from Western Australia. But Lee had previously worked for Aviva, which is a big insurance company in the UK, if you are of course watching from outside of it. But Wayne was also working in construction for Shepherd Group as well, who are a pretty big company. But the brewery are based in the Enterprise complex, and their building was actually a former storage area for the York Archaeological Trust. So the upstairs in the building is where the start of the brewing takes place, while the mezzanine houses the most of the brewing equipment with a bar around it. But they actually have an outdoor area as well, which overlooks the river and the wharf, and they do plan to add a shop to the brewery at some point in the near future. But they're a really interesting brewery. It's somewhere, Mike was telling me that it's actually a really nice place to go and visit. He went down there with some friends recently, so he's told me it's somewhere that I do need to check out because it is pretty cool. So I've seen York before, it's a really nice town, so I need to go down and kind of have a little bit of a beer weekend or something like that at some point. But it should be really cool to go down and have a look. But these guys are quite prolific now. He was telling me that you can get these beers in the local Asda's and things like that down there, so they do seem to be producing quite a few different things, and it is cool to see the supermarkets are starting to do deals a little bit with some of the local breweries. But yeah, it should be a really interesting one for us to try. So anyway, let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. They do seem to have quite a few different beers. Like I said, if you want to read a little bit more about the brewery and things like that, all the links are in the description below and you can have a look at that. So it says on the side here, smoked porter, 5.1%, a smooth, well-balanced porter with subtly smoky undertones, formed with a rich blend of 6 different malts. Viking DNA is a nod to the brewery's heritage, as the site was where York Viking Centre was built. So yeah, quite an interesting one. Interestingly, I noticed on the website that if you get this beer in bottle it's 5%, but if it's in the can it seems to be 5.1%, so there must be something a little bit different about the conditioning there. But there you can see, quite nicely presented, and I do like the eagle and the lion that they have for Brew York there. I'm not sure if that's some of the town's symbols or something like that. Of course I studied Scottish history a lot more than English history, but I do like the artwork they have here. You can see the Viking longboats and stuff, and the helmets on the back there. That's really quite cool actually. So yeah, as I said, 5.1% smoked porter. So without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Oh, it's going a little bit foamy, but we'll get it out and into the glass. It's quite a nice colour that actually. When it's pouring, it's coming across as a really kind of dark chestnutty colour actually. So yeah, as you can see, it actually pours a little bit more of an ebony rosewood note or colour. If I hold it up to the light there, it does come across as a little bit more of a dark sort of ebony rosewood thing. When you pour it out the can though and it's quite thin, it is a little bit more of a chestnutty colour, but you can see there's a solid finger of a frothy sort of beigey tan head on this one. It is quite a bubbly head rather than being really foamy. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just popping up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall it does look really quite nice. It looks exactly what you would expect from a porter. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. That one smells really earthy actually. Yeah, it's got a big earthy note to it. It's not too complex in its aroma. You can smell a little bit of the Rauch malt in there. You can smell a little bit of that typical kind of ham, roasted ham, kind of meaty thing. There's a wee bit of chocolate, but not too much. And you can smell a little bit of a sort of brown sugar sweetness, but again, there's not that much of it there. A little bit of earthy hop, I would say. But not that much. This aroma really isn't that pungent at all. My nose isn't blocked, so definitely no, it's just not such a pungent aroma, I would say, on this one. But yeah, it kind of has what you'd expect, as I said. A little bit of roasted black malt, some sweet caramel, a bit of brown bread, definitely a little bit of that kind of rauchy, smoky, meaty character that you would expect. Some sweet brown sugars. Maybe a little bit of a woody, kind of nutty character as well, actually. But overall, you know, it does smell exactly like you'd expect for a porter, but not the most pungent of aromas that I've come across from this style. Pardon me. So yeah, let's have a little taste of this one, and as I always say, just take a little bit of time to mull over the aroma, because you can usually get some really interesting things. And when you let it warm up, actually, you can get a little bit more of that sort of nice kind of brown bready, kind of caramelly character that you would expect of the porter, and the smoky notes start to come out a little bit. But as I always say, the aroma is always half the experience when it comes to craft beer and sake and whiskey and stuff like that. So take a little bit of time to enjoy it, but let's get stuck into this beer then. So this one is the Viking DNA from Brew York down in the city of York in Yorkshire in England. Slàinte. That's really light in the mouthfeel, actually. Of course, that's the main difference between the porter and the stout, of course, is the difference in the mouthfeel. The porter is essentially kind of just a very dark, light, drinkable beer. But that's nice. Yeah, I like how this one comes across, actually. By no means is it going to blow your head off in terms of malty sweetness or hoppiness or anything like that. It's actually just a nice blend of flavour, this one. I think they're basically going for just a nice kind of easy drinking porter, and they've pulled that off quite well with this beer. Yeah, I mean, this one strikes me as being just a really kind of easy drinker. The flavours in this one, it's quite light in its mouthfeel. You know, this is the sort of thing. It reminds me a little bit of the Dragon Stout that you can get from Jamaica. Of course, the Dragon Stout's a little bit heavier in alcohol and in mouthfeel, but it reminds me of the kind of feel that beer was going for. This is actually a porter, I would say, that you could drink on a nice summer's day. Of course, usually you want to go for golden ales or pills or even an IPA or something like that, but to me this beer really strikes me as one that I could sit and enjoy on a summer's day, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I really like how that comes across. One of the things you're going to notice about this is that it's very, very smooth in the mouthfeel. So if we just, as I always say with these dark beers, sugar it around your palate a little bit and just let your whole mouth adjust. But with this one, you can feel there's that nice little bit of roasted black malt under this, but it's got a nice kind of brown bready character that just smooths it out. It doesn't quite have the black malt bitterness that you can get from some beers in this style category, but you can get that nice meaty sweetness there. It sits in the middle of the palate and it just pushes its way out. It's really quite nice how it does that. There's a wee bit of kind of toasted caramel in there and a little bit of chocolate, but it's that nice brown bready character, a little bit of that roasted malt and some sort of sweet malty character as well, a brown bread, you know. It's just the way that the malt base in this one goes together, I really like it. It's not too sweet, it's just meant to be kind of light, and in the background it's actually quite a sessionable porter, this one. And to be honest, I would always say with the porter for me is a style that I try and just to have a taste of. I do like it, but I would never ever think to session it. But with this one, you actually could do that. Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, when you start to progress a little bit further into the flavour, you can get this little bit of a woody, kind of nutty character coming out of the beer too. It's really quite nicely done. I mean, like I said, it's not going to blow your head off, this one, but it's just a nice kind of easy drinking one, and it's got a little bit of complexity to the flavour, I think, as well. It's not too strong in any one regard, it's more just about how all these flavours kind of go together. But I do like that. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. It's a nice kind of easy-going porter, and like I say, it's one that could actually get you used to the idea of sessioning this beer style. In terms of the hoppiness of the beer then, so in the back corner of the palate there's a nice little bit of earthiness. As you kind of come along the front sides of the tongue, it's got a nice little bit of smoothness to it. Around the front curve of the palate you can feel there's just a little bit of a kind of grassy character in there. And then just behind the front curve of the palate, of course, is where you start to get some of these nice kind of fruity parts of the beer. So let's take a closer look at that. Yeah, with this one, there's a sort of there's a very slight candied red fruit ester. There's not too much in the way of a fruity character with this one. You can feel the chocolate and a little bit of the caramel just pushing its way out as you go further forward into the flavour of this, but there's a nice little bit of just a slightly candied red fruit ester coming out of this beer. That's really quite nice. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this beer again. It does, that fruity flavour I'm talking about does progress to be a little bit more figgy as the flavour goes on and as you move further into the aftertaste, but mainly it's a little bit of a lighter candied red fruit ester more than anything else. But it's a really quite nice beer. As I said, I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say this is light-bodied. The carbonation on this one does have a little bit of activity to it. I'd say it's a moderate carbonation. It does have a little bit of a prickle. The mouthfeel is quite wet. It's a little bit oily. There's some nice kind of smooth malty notes to this one as well. It's got the malt base overall. It has a little bit of sweetness to it, but at the same time it's got a little bit of a kind of roasted character as well. It's very, very smooth. The hops have just a little bit of bitterness in the back corners of the palate, but other than that, it's very smooth, and there's just a little bit of a juicy fruity note coming out of the beer as well. But overall, it's certainly quite a nice beer, and like I said, the kind of quirky note of this one is the way the smokiness kind of smooths the beer out, and it is also one that can get you used to the idea of sessioning these different beers. But overall, it's quite nice, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So yeah, if you get the chance to try this one, I do recommend that you have a look at it. From what I understand, in the Yorkshire area, it is available in the likes of Asda's and stuff like that, so it is fairly easy to get. For me though, it's something a little bit more unique being up here in Scotland. But yeah, if you get the chance to try this one, I recommend that you do have a look at it. So yeah, this was the Viking DNA from Brew York down in York in England. A really quite interesting beer. Once again, thank you to Mike for giving me this beer. Thank you to you guys who've watched the review. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below, and let me know what your favourite beers are from Brew York as well, and I'm sure I will return to them in the near future. Well, I will, because Mike gave me 2 other cans, but you'll see some more reviews from these guys at some point in the near future. So thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Slander just now.